When it's been a couple months since your last haircut and they're starting to look like a poofed up triangle, that is a sign that we need to cut them again. So I thought I'd bring you guys along with me. But before any of this, I just want to say I am not a professional hair person or anything, which is why I didn't title this like a tutorial. I've just been cutting my own hair for quite a while now, so don't actually like follow this video. It would break my heart if I influenced you to try and you ended up hating it. So just like, we'll just hang out, but don't actually cut your hair. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So first I'm going to go and wet my hair. Okay, so now my hair is wet. I'm just going to dry it off a little bit, but from my knowledge, you're supposed to either straighten your hair, like pin straight, or you want to wet it, just so you can make sure that your length is nice. And then I really like having a spray bottle with water in it so that I could keep spraying it. It is a heat protected bottle, but the inside is just water. So today we are going for a layered cut. That is actually the only cut that I know how to do. So first I'm going to get a hair tie. And basically you want to become like Dumbledore for a little bit, where you gather all of your hair like this, and then you want to make sure that it's really flat against your scalp and that there's no weird like waves or curls. And then you're going to tie it here. It looks so strange. Like that, and then we're going to cut across straight. So I have my garbage can. Try and get actual like hair cutting scissors if you're ever gonna follow a different tutorial. This isn't a tutorial. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm going to just chop it straight off. And then you make sure that it's straight. And then I'm going to point cut it. And then you take it off. And this length is going to be the longest point, which I think is pretty good. And then what I do is I will go from my ears all the way to the back. Do clip it here. And then we're going to start our layers. So first, I sometimes go out to the side, I sometimes go to the front. I don't really know what the difference is, but I first go like this, and then you cut straight up. And then that's kind of how the first layer is like. And then we're going to do the same for the other side. I think it is great to have one haircut that you really love that you can do on your own, because the amount of money that you save is actually crazy. And it's also kind of stressful too sometimes to go to the salon, because it's just so awkward sometimes. I don't know what to say. And also, there was this one hair salon that completely butchered my bangs, and that was some of the most like upsetting time ever. I was actually really sad, and ever since then I remember thinking I'm gonna learn how to do it myself so that I don't have to go through these problems ever again. And to be fair, I have also messed up a couple times on my own hair, but I don't know, it just feels so much better that I learned something from it. But I do know that just because I've had one bad experience with hair salons doesn't mean every hair salon is bad. And just because that one, hairstylist did me wrong doesn't mean that all hairstylists are like that. So, it's important to still understand that. Now my other side is done, so I always check the length and make sure they're pretty even. Alright, I think we're done with the first layer, so now let's go off to the second. So I like to just tie the first layer at the back like a ponytail, and then bring this down. And now I'm going to do the temples of my hair. Okay, so this is gonna be the second layer. I actually wonder if you guys have had any like hair mishaps, or if there was a time in your life when you had like the worst hairstyle possible but you thought it was the best thing. I remember for quite some time when I was in middle school, all I wore was slick back, and that was just the worst ever, especially for my face shape because it's quite round, you know, and so I literally look like an egg every single day. I look back at my school photos from during those times and I remember just being like, why did I do that? But I think I just didn't care too much about like my hair and how I looked, which honestly I kind of want to go back to that time. But I was definitely influenced by a dance. I used to do competitive dancing for quite a while, so you know I would always put my hair in a slick back anyways after school when I would go to a dance. So I think from one point I was like, why don't I just wear the same hairstyle at school, and then it would take me much less time to get ready. But I have definitely seen and heard of even crazier ones, like spiky hair. I knew someone who had spiky hair when they were younger, and they now have a really nice, like, you know, it's nice now, but like before, that was a crazy time. So let me know in the comments if you've had anything like that. I'm quite interested to know. And then after we're done cutting, I'll also show you how I style them, which I'm actually trying to find better ways to style them, but I do have one pretty solid one that I do every day for school. Personally, I think layers are literally, they're an accessory, okay? They're so cute, they're so pretty. The only thing that you can't really do with them are braids, because of how different all the lengths are. They're going to be a bunch of hair just like sticking out, but other than that, every hairstyle looks so good. Especially ponytails look so nice because it all like flows so nicely. And of course hair down is a classic. Half ups are also really nice, and surprisingly they don't look that bad when they're not styled. I feel like what a lot of people worry about is how they look when they like wake up and when they haven't styled it. It honestly doesn't look that bad, so I really recommend. But again, this video is not a tutorial. Please search up like a proper tutorial or get it done at the hair salon that you trust. But we are now done with the second layer. I usually don't get them perfectly the first try. I will go back and redo them quite a bit and adjust them quite a bit before they're how I like them to be. But I think for now, let's move on to our last layer. I forgot to tie my hair in the back. This is the worst, is when you spend so much time like parting everything and then you accidentally bring all of them down together. And then you pretty much do the same thing to every layer. You just want to cut them a little bit more each time so that they're overall a little bit shorter. And I don't know if it's just me, but if you have really thick hair, try using thinning shears. I swear, they're the best thing ever. They're also really easy too, because layers will not look good if all of your hair is very thick. So, I mean, layers in itself already make your hair a little bit less bulky, but if it's still looking weird, I really recommend you try thinning shears to kind of control everything. Okay, well, I'm actually getting so much hair on my clothes. This happens every time. I feel like it's so difficult to get things out of my clothes, like little pieces of hair. Maybe the garbage can method is really not that good. Alright, well now I think it's pretty good. This part you really want to make sure that both your sides are even, because otherwise it's going to look really lopsided. Okay, well I think we're good. So let's just merge it with all of the bottom layers. Alright, well I actually think that's looking pretty good. We will dry it off and then see. And then if it doesn't look good, you just wet it all over again and then do the same process. But this is also like the eyeliner situation where like you try to perfect it and it gets bigger and bigger every time, except for your hair, it's gonna get shorter and shorter, and there is no way to make it longer except for just waiting it out. So just like be careful. Again, this is not a tutorial, but like if you are cutting your hair, do a tiny bit, okay? Just cut a tiny bit when you're adjusting, or if it's your first time, just do it, but only take off literally like a millimeter so that you know what you're doing. And then you can do it the second time around properly, because I think just taking the risk and going all out is not good when it comes to hair, because if you do it wrong, you're gonna regret it forever, and that is the worst. Okay, well, I'm going to dry it off. I might do a little bit of thinning shears. Actually, no, I'm just gonna dry it off first, so I will let you guys know when it's dry. Okay, well now I'm back. My hair is dry now. And yeah, to be honest, this is what my hair looks like with layers, with no styling. And I kind of understand what they mean when they say they don't like it, but also it's not that bad, right? Let's just check in the back. Oh yeah, this is the part if the back looks really bad. Okay, I can't see, so you guys are gonna have to tell me if it looks good or not. How is it? I'm gonna watch back on the footage and see if we need to adjust. Alright, not bad, but I think I'm gonna make these parts a little bit shorter, and then I want the back to be a little bit pointier. So hopefully I can do that. So I'm just going to adjust it a little bit. Okay, well, I don't know if that made too much of a difference, but we'll try and style it and see how it looks. Usually this is around what it looks like when it's not styled. So I'm going to get my actual heat protectant. And then I heard somewhere that it's really important that you make sure your heat protectant spray dries out completely before you go in with the heat. I heard some people say that it gives the opposite effect if you iron while it's still wet, even with the heat protectant, so make sure you dry it. Now I'm going to get my straightener, and then you're basically just gonna go through and curl a little bit at the end. Okay, you know what? I really like how the top is sitting. I don't like how much there is at the bottom, so I'm going to cut off just a little bit more. Okay, well I just went ahead and evened it out a little bit. It's starting to look much better. Let's see what it looks like from the back again. So now let's move on to bangs, because these are starting to grow out quite a bit as well. All I really do is I just take a little piece here. Not too much of a difference of my bangs. I just trimmed the center just a tiny bit. And then that's kind of how it looks. I'm gonna go and put in a little bit of hair oil and we'll see what the final result looks like. Alright, so this is kind of how my hair turned out. It definitely is wonky and a little bit choppy, but I kind of like it. I had so much fun. Again, this is not a tutorial, so please don't follow this, but I really want to keep practicing and hopefully, eventually, I could get somewhere near an actual hairstylist, but yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you so much for watching. I hope I can see you again very soon. Bye!
Blue sky come bearing up before us. We hang on.